Okay, so welcome. We'll start the meeting. It's 9:04. It's December 10th, and this is the Wayside Cleanup Weekly Office Hours Get Together. It's being recorded. It will be posted on our YouTube channel. I'm a little bit late getting last week's up, so there'll be two of them coming up there. And this is your opportunity to ask questions that we will defer until later to answer if they're not really quick and easy and obvious. And also let you know of what we're doing and what might be coming up, which this week is, from my perspective, all PFAS all the time. I'm monitoring on my other screen a PFAS training for public water suppliers that is going on, that if they go really quickly, I might have to drop off and join them. I have 2 slides that I have to present there. That is part of the rollout of the PFAS drinking water standard, doing outreach to the public water supplies. Yesterday, there was a meeting with the Safe Drinking Water Act Advisory Committee, known as SIDWAC, where we did the same thing. So the MCL rolling out the sampling and the coordination with the public water suppliers and how we will pay for their initial rounds of sampling is being coordinated. And as we mentioned last week, the private well sampling work is starting to roll out as well. So a lot of PFAS going on. The state budget, I believe, is up at in the governor's office. The last I heard, last time I listened to the news, which was on Tuesday on my way into the office. And one of the items in that, the news is generally, good considering for DEP. We're essentially level funded, with the exception that we did get, or hope to get, it's in the budget. Hopefully we'll make it through, 6 new positions to deal with PFAS specifically. And those will be divided up among the regions and the programs, both primarily the drinking water program, but also some staff for wayside cleanup to address the ongoing increasing number of sites related to both private and public water supply testing. And a position, I believe, will go to the Office of Research and Standards to support their work, supporting us. So, knock on wood, those that will continue to be there, and we'll be addressing PFAS well into 2021, 2022, and into the future.
Beyond.
And beyond. Some of you will be doing it and beyond, long after some of us are gone. So that's has been my focus. That got the budget and the PFAS work all at once. Still, the office, the kind of the nuts and bolts of DEP running its operations. We're starting to actually roll out another delivery of laptops to make it easier for our staff to work remotely, again, as a long-term project, not just COVID related. So a lot of us are still working on our own personal computers. So at some point hopefully by the end of June, everybody will have appropriate DEP issued hardware to work on. So that's good for all of us. And the rollback of kind of operations, I guess we're back at stage 1 of phase 3, whatever that means. I don't think that has particular effect on DEP operations, but we continue to stress to our staff that we will not put them in a position where they feel uncomfortable if they have site visits or inspections or that sort of thing. So we're continuing to kind of be flexible in kind of how we're continuing our operations to make sure that we do so in a manner that's safe and protective for our staff and the people that we work with. The residents, the PRPs, the LSPs, anybody that we come into contact with during our operations. I think that's kind of things that I've wanted to cover. Just note that we have a couple letters from the LSP Association on one, the LSPA sent a letter to Governor Baker on another item that's in the budget, and we'll see, again, whether it survives the process, is setting up a PFAS task force. So it's good to see the LSP Association kind of recognizing that and sending in their thoughts on that. Also ongoing questions and work on the asbestos regs 454 CMR 28 that had gone out from DLS and kind of potential impacts that might have on DEP and particularly wayside cleanup operations, and also another letter on something that we do want to continue talking about on advisory committee and outreach and environmental justice, and becoming, being more diverse, and some thoughts on kind of how we can do that better. So I think those are, a number of things that, at various levels at DEP will be taking kind of under advisement and reaching out to the LSPA and you guys kind of as we kind of synthesize it a little bit more, and then can get back to you. So that's really all I'll have to start out and throw it out there. Anything you guys want to bring up, talk about?
Paul, is that the new motto of the department that you have there?
That's my personal motto.
Okay, it seems to be appropriate, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's actually my favorite Boston Globe headline of all time.
I do have a question. Are the old versions of the MCP online, or going to be online at some point? I think that was a project you had at one point in the past.
It's not a project that it's something that's come up in the past. It has not been a project for us for a very specific reason. We have had trouble previously, and I'm not sure that the new website does this any better, where because of the far-reaching effects of Google and other search engines, where people bypass our website and go from a search page directly to a document. We have had problems in the past where people have searched for and found old versions of a document and not realizing it. And it's particularly complicated because, if you look at the regulations and the way the Secretary of State kind of keeps track of things, each page has a date on it. So as we go in and make changes, if a change is not made to a particular page, it essentially retains, I think this is how it works. Liz, correct me if I misstate. You'll see different dates on the bottoms of the pages depending upon when that page was last changed, which makes it very confusing for people if you just drop in out of Google and open up a document to know whether it is the current version or not. So I think we had, one of the things we had talked about is working with the LSPA to provide a collection, our archive. We do have an archive that's readily accessible, and I think I may have it on a thumb drive around here somewhere, of documents that the LSPA could post in a location that would be available for LSPs, and be posted in a way that would be clear and behind your firewall. So like people can't just drop in out of Google to get it. behind your sign-in, so that it would be a resource available in an easy way to LSPs.
Paul,
Yep.
speaking on behalf of the LSPA, we would be happy to host that.
Yeah, I know I had it actually on a thumb drive. I'm not sure kind of where that stood. That might have been something that got like sidetracked when everybody stopped seeing each other in COVID related stuff. But yeah, we can work. I can find a way to post it somewhere where you guys can download it and repost it. So
and we could probably even smack a superseded watermark across the pages and protect it so that it can't be removed. And
yeah, it's just one of those things that these documents are out there. People should be aware. If you Google something and go directly to the document, you need to have that extra step to find out if it's the current version or not. The other thing, just an FYI, fun little tool is archive.org, which is a place one can go and find archive versions of everybody of the internet, including MassDEP's website. And that is a tool that I often use if somebody asks me, well, can you give me the version of the MCP that was current as of, so it's actually, it came up just recently. We were looking for the original Word version of the guidance for disposal site risk characterization, which if you go on the website, you get the PDF version, but if you want to actually edit it and revise it as somebody wanted to do internal, it's like, well, you could look, try to get in through VPN and look through all of the kind of archive things on our network drive, but that's not as easy as it should be these days. Or you could go to archive.org, pick a date back in, say 1998, pull up DEP's old website and go through and download the Word version that was posted in 1998. That's a great tool for finding old versions of what was on the web. And because you have to go to archive.org, presumably you understand that you're looking at an archived version of it and will act appropriately.
Don't make any assumptions in that regard, Paul.
Yeah, well, I will only take so many steps to protect people from themselves. But it's a useful tool. It's really cool. And when we shifted websites, actually a couple of years ago, there was at least some period of time, archive.org, they use web crawlers to go through and just pick what is publicly available and all of that and follow it. So any given date may or may not get you a complete view of the website. You might have to try a couple of dates to get what you need. But there was a time a few years ago as we were switching over the format and the structure and the software that ran our website, that DEP, well, mass.gov was paying archive.org to systematically archive our site. And all of that is still there as well. So it's before we made the change and then while we were making the change. So it's a great tool. I would highly recommend it. And one of these days I should do a 5-minute video on using that to look at archive material, because it's very helpful to see what was in place at a given time. Well, that was a good question. We have a action that will come out of that, and it was a learning opportunity. Anybody want to try to top that?
Slow day.
Slow day. So are the rollbacks on the COVID cautionary things, is that having any effect on what you guys do? Or I think it's so incrementally small that I think most of our actions are already compliant and we're being extra careful.
Yeah, it's GZA, it's the same thing. We've had been able to open up to 50% of the office, but we've been way below that. So we're not affected by this, I don't think. Not in this state anyway.
Okay, anything in the news you want to point out to us? Or just for the fun of it?
Quiet group.
Not much
You're
fun.
very, very quiet this morning. Boy,
I think we just-
I may get to that PFAS training sooner.
just waiting for the end of this administration.
Uh, yes, Liz.
I may as well mention, although I'm not sure exactly when it's going to happen, but we will be doing a mailing of an AUL compliance letter, which is a generic letter. We've done this twice before, and it just turns out that it happens to be, we've done it every 5 years. So 2010, 2015, and it's going out to everyone who's a current property owner that has an AUL recorded. And it's just a general reminder of what the instrument is and what their obligations are. And I think that will probably be going out sometime in December. The only AUL property owners that won't be receiving it are the ones that also have AULs related to permanent solution and subslab depressurization systems, because they do have an obligation when they receive a letter from us to certify and send those back. So we're going to cull those people from the group and be sending out that batch of certification letters separately following this mailing. So that's just a little bit of a heads up. I think it's going to happen sometime in December, and we are going to work with the LSPA to put out a message ahead of that going out, but just in case it generates any questions for people.
Actually, this morning, the LSP Association notice of that came through, actually just before this this call. Is the letter going to remind people about the need to include notice of the AUL in all leases and so forth?
Yes.
An issue,
Yeah.
And we'll be posting a copy of the letter on the web.
Yes, so if you want, you'll be able to see what's actually the content is by going to that link.
In the announcement, this is Peggy, in the announcement that went out this morning, there's that the link is in that announcement. So you can go right to the generic letter on our webpage to see what the text is.
Ooh, maybe I could bring that up. Well, you'll see it.
And the letter tries to emphasize that no response is expected or needed to the letter. So tries to say that clearly,
But so Peggy and Liz, the last couple times that we've done it, do you have any kind of descriptions of the responses that we've got back? Could you generalize? Yeah. Kind of what you've seen?
Well, the responses were very different in 2010 and 2015, so it's hard to say what they'll be in 2020. There was in 2010, there were a lot of sites that didn't actually have owners listed in our database, so we had to find who those people were. So that was a piece of that. There wasn't, that same problem didn't exist in 2015, at least not to the same extent. So in 2010, I think it was 40 to 45% had either the wrong owner listed or no owner listed. So all of Epic's our database had to be updated with the current information. 2015, I want to say it was maybe 20% had to be updated. Hopefully in 2020, people have been sending in their copies of deeds and letting us know when the properties have transferred. So we'll see how it plays out. But as far as the timing goes, we're hoping that we can start sending the letters out early next week.
there's also a phone number and an email address on there for questions. So we will be picking up and calling people back if they call.
Well, apparently you signed the letter.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Every single one of them.
Yeah.
That's how I spend my days.
Do you remember when you had to do that?
Oh, well, no, but no, I was an early adopter of scanning my own signature and having it. But I remember when other people certainly had to do that.
Didn't have an auto pen? That was a
No,
very early electronic signature.
yeah, no. DEP, I don't think ever sprang for auto pens. But
Elliot, did you get that, that letter by clicking on the link? Because I'm not getting it to respond. to
Yes.
it.
It opened up a website which had the PDF that you'd click on.
Yeah, okay. It may just be my computer problem because I'm not getting it to open. Okay.
so one of the reasons we do this is to like remind people, hey, you have AULs. Peggy, they just do you have any kind of reaction to how often we get responses back saying, what, I have an AUL? Is that common, less common?
It's not as common as I think we thought it was going
Okay.
to be. There's always a few people say, I have no idea what this is. And then I look and I see that they signed the AUL 5 years earlier. So maybe they forgot. Yeah, I mean, there were a few, but not as many as we had feared. So that was good news. But yeah, there was a few.
Good. So we have a question in the chat. Well, kind of the Senate bill that is in Ways and Means regarding heating oil spill insurance coverage, question mark. So I don't know the current status of that. I think the LSBA is playing a more active role, certainly than DEP can. There's separation of the executive branch and the legislative branch. So if anybody knows of the status or of what's going on or the involvement or the timing of that, feel free. Okay.
Well, I'm not speaking for the LSPA, but I did notice that I think something that LSPA sent out this week was encouraging people to contact their legislator. So it's moving, or at some level.
Yeah, it's still alive. It's still active at this point. Yes, and it will expire at the end of the legislative season. So it's so there's, as with all bills that are still in process right now, there's a deadline for action, and if nothing happens, then the process begins anew in January. So this is, of course, not specific to the oil spill insurance coverage work, but it's not unusual for a bill to kind of go through this process several times before it reaches a point where it actually gets passed and moves on. So I'll, on the glass half full, the fact that it's still alive and people are talking about it and this activity, whether it meets that deadline or not, there's always next year.
Paul, can I just touch base back on that AUL
Sure.
letter? Sorry if I missed it. I've got a child running around distracting me every once in a while. But I was wondering if there was a cutoff date for when those letters will be submitted. Like, for example, if an AUL was recently submitted in August or September, will they still be getting that reminder letter? Or is it for any AUL as of December?
The cutoff date was, I believe, January 1st, 2020. So if an AUL was filed this year, they're not going to be receiving a letter because we assume that they're aware of it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions, things on your mind? Okay.
Well, not necessarily a question, just a comment or announcement that, so Connecticut had its first work group meeting for its release-based reporting, which is an attempt to go to more of a MCP type program rather than the combination of programs it has currently. So we shall see, but it just relevant perhaps to you and Liz and John Fitzgerald and people like that is that I talked with the executive director of EPOC and because they are interested in possibly having involvement from some MassDEP waste site cleanup people to help inform the discussion of what kind of program, what should be in the program that Connecticut should go to.
Okay, well, that will be interesting to watch.
Yeah.
You know, obviously we have contacts with the Connecticut folks. In fact, right now, today, there's the new mower, the Northeast Waste Management Offices Association, NUMOA, is meeting. The board of directors is meeting today. That's the sort of thing that the knowledge transfer and contacts and information kind of gets passed along in those meetings as well. So, but if you do, as you run across them, we're always available, and certainly would be available for meetings with Connecticut, done remotely. We don't have to worry about getting that out-of-state approval for out-of-state travel, which is always so difficult and problematic. So certainly be willing to talk and help out whenever possible. Okay, if there's nothing else, we can kind of close the official business of this. And if you have any other things we want to talk about, less official business, holiday plans, how you're doing, prospects for snow, all of that. Anybody get all their holiday shopping done? Need advice for recipes? Anybody need hot sauce? There's always that. I'm trying to get rid of hot sauce at the moment. Habanero, fruity hot sauce, and jalapeno, cilantro, fermented green tomato hot sauce.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Different.
Paul,
different
there's one thing that we discussed at the NIOP 21E Brownfields meeting.
Oh yeah, how did that go?
It went well, and Marilyn, I know that you were going to reach out to Paul ahead of time. I don't know if you had a chance to do that or not, so I don't want to steal your thunder.
I didn't, so go for it.
Okay. So one of the things that we were talking about with the PFAS letter that's going out to the homeowners regarding the sampling and potential notifications, we were wondering if, like, the DEP has, put aside any budget to provide alternative water supply or any treatment for those homeowners that might be impacted at all, that aren't able to afford it or in a position to do an alternative water supply at that time. Something like that has been considered at all.
Well, they're as you could expect. We're expecting to see a range of results coming back from the PFAS private water testing, and kind of our response is going to be kind of tied to that. And for let's see, the first, I'm trying to order what I'm trying to say. First, that because there's going to be a range of situations, but both in terms of concentration and knowledge about what's going on at and around those residences, it's likely that we are going to have a wide range of different responses. At one end, we're going to have imminent hazard type of high concentrations that require immediate action, and we will work with the homeowners, and no PRP, let's put that as one of the factors, and we will work with homeowners, and as with, you know, any kind of imminent hazards, you know, there's a statutory obligation to make sure that those get addressed one way or another. And if that's certainly one of the situations where DEP will step in if needed and make sure that the water people are drinking are safe and appropriate. And that has in the past and would include provision of bottled water for some period of time and or things like POET systems. So I'd say that's on one end of it. On the other side, there are going to kind of at the lower levels of finding PFAS. There may still be some question about what the sources are and whether it's from things from septic systems, atmospheric deposition, other things which may or may not be 21E related. And that's part of the point of doing this. It's a research project essentially to try to identify how bad it is out there, what the distribution is, what the potential sources are. So DEP may in some cases be providing, you know, technical assistance to the homeowners for some situations. Other cases where there are PRPs, they're high, the levels are high enough, and there are also PRPs, you know, we would try to, as I've been trying to describe it, kind of normalize the process where, you know, it's kind of clearly a 21E site. The standard process would be to get the PRPs to pick up the assessment and cleanup work, which may include providing bottled water or POET systems or some other treatment systems. So you're going to see a wide range of responses. And we'll also be sensitive about the timing that we don't, you know, we don't want to drag people into the 21E program where it may in fact not be a 21E type of release. They may have exemptions that apply to them. So we'll be taking that into consideration. And so there may be subsequent actions later when we have all of the data, can analyze the data and figure out what's going on at all of these sites. So I think all of this is hard. You know, having just described all that, I would not be surprised. It would be hard for kind of the regulated community, the homeowners, to kind of figure out and have a very clear idea of what will happen to me. What would be the response for my home if I find something, because we don't know all of the circumstances surrounding it yet. So it's going to be something that will be determined essentially on a case-by-case basis, depending upon those specific circumstances. But in all cases, we will be working with the homeowners directly, whether it's wayside cleanup or the drinking water program or the people, the contractors that we've brought on board from the UMass Amherst and Lowell that will be kind of intertwined with all of this. There will be a lot of interaction and a lot of outreach throughout the process. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Paul, yeah, also at the NAIOP meeting this week, there was a lot of discussion about the Cummings properties versus Mass General Physicians, I guess it was, about, and it circled around the issue of whether a lease, whether the AUL was included, the information of the AUL was included in the lease. It wasn't, and that had some serious implications. I'm looking at the letter which David was good enough to email me, and the letter that you're sending out also doesn't mention, it talks about selling and transferring title, but it doesn't talk about the lease or rental agreement, which I think is more likely to trip people up.
Okay. I think that's one of the points I'll defer to a later date to actually respond. I don't want to put Liz and Peggy kind of on the spot for describing why or why not it's on there. And I certainly don't want to be on the spot because I can't specifically answer it at the moment, but we can talk about that and respond at a later date. the, okay. Anything else come up at the NAP meeting?
It was pretty much mostly that.
Yeah. You know, the other thing that happened this week, I forgot to mention, was that yesterday, the LSP board gave an exam. I think to 6 potential new LSPs. I don't know what the results were.
Apparently it'll take a week, although we're not, one of them was someone from our place. And she said, I don't know why it's going to take a week. It's on a computer. How can it take a week to get back results from a computer? But nonetheless, it did go off okay.
We have very slow internet connections out in the central region, you know.
Apparently.
A week would be incredibly faster than it was in 2012 when I got my LSP.
Yeah.
Well, so it's the process. As you know, the LSP board is separate from DEP. Although they did use our facilities in Central Region, there was a lot of coordination to make sure that it was done hopefully safely and appropriately. Larry, I'd be curious, this person from GZA who took the exam, did they feel comfortable kind of in the setting, given kind of the distance and the precautions that were being taken?
Yeah, well, the person, we'll call her Mary Ann, did not complain about it. And I think
Okay.
So.
Well, if it was something that wasn't mentioned, then that's good.
Exactly. No news is good news, right?
Yep.
And this particular person is very quick to share her opinions, so.
Yes.
Oh, good. I know we had talked about, fans and distances and making sure, there are enough support and proctors. And so it was actually a big deal to open up the central regional office for something and invite people in. So the DEP staff involved, and particularly the folks in the central region, were very conscientious about it, I thought.
I see in the news today that the city manager of Worcester has come down with COVID. It's positive. Augustus.
Oh, no.
Given the rates, it's not I'm not surprised when anybody actually turns up positive. Clearly some people are getting it. I'm quietly sitting in my basement, and so we're not coming into contact with anybody really. Very little. So and I think I'm 275 millionth in line for the vaccine. So.
Oh, I don't know, Paul. You got some years on you. You're getting up there.
No. I my wife went to the New York Times site that had the calculator to tell you where you would be in line, and apparently my crossing a nice round number in age recently did not move me up at all. So I may be old, it's just not old enough.
Oh, good. It's on the New York Times?
Yeah, there is. New York Times had an app online that would tell you where you are in line. And they had a nice little graphic here of, if the line were 100 people, here's where you would be, and would show you who's in front of you. So you can start lying to adjust. Oh, if I pretend I'm a 12-year-old child, I can move up. But for us, luckily I get to stand in line with my wife, so she's in the same position as I am. So,
wow.
Okay, well, if you have nothing else for today, then we'll meet again next week, I think. And I'll head off to the Public Water PFAS training and see what's going on over there.
If you want to have some fun, you can always just Google PFAS conspiracy, and you'll have fun reading all of the articles that come up, which will include from EcoRI an article by Dr. Lohman, who presented for the PFAS sampling course. One of his grad students has been checking it in seabirds and finding PFAS in seabirds. But yes, PFAS conspiracy makes fun reading.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that, Matthew.
Yeah, well, I think we talked last week about the Globe article about the anvil testing and the pesticides.
Right.
And the the do not read the comment section of those articles, because they're entertaining for a short period of time, and then they become really annoying and discouraging.
Yeah.
The type of conspiracy theorists that are out there. Okay, well, we'll see you next week. Our Thursday is at 9 o'clock.
Stay
Okay,
safe, everyone.
good seeing
Thank you.
you. Yep.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you.